This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Let's talk about the other quote here that I think is going to get some people talking. WCW wrestlers this past week all received a letter officially listing the new rules, most of which had been previously speculated upon here or talked about in a previous announcement to the wrestlers when Bill Watts appeared at a house show a few weeks back in Savannah, Georgia. Anyway, effective June 1st, the rules, now dubbed the 10 Commandments by the wrestlers, go as follows. Number 1, use of the ring barricades and the ring post is forbidden and will also be a cause for an automatic disqualification. Let's break these down as we go through them here. What do you think of that? Can't use the barricade, can't use the ring post. If you do, it's a DQ. What say you?
No problem. If the referee doesn't catch you, then it's a good piece of business.
I got you.
And that's what these rules are designed to be. Not that you can't do it.
Storytelling device.
You can't get caught doing it.
Yes. Number 2, wrestling outside the ring is discouraged. Number 3, absolutely no low blows. First offense is $1,000 fine. Second offense is a $2,500 fine. And the third offense is a $5,000 fine and will be considered a breach of contract. If a wrestler is hit low, he is to make every effort to not sell the move as a low blow. What do you make of this?
Confusing.
Yeah.
A little confusing. Same deal. If you're caught hitting below the belt, you get disqualified. Don't overthink it. And I think it's one of those times we overthought that a little bit, but everything was, all the rules stuff was simply, you can't do this. And if you get caught doing it, you're going to get disqualified. You're going to lose the match. You get the loser share of the purse, blah, blah, blah. But it was a little bit of a culture shock for some of the boys because Cowboy was taking away some of their shortcuts. And he didn't say not do it. He just said, don't do it in front of the referee. And that was kind of where it was. And a lot of the guys didn't want to work hard enough to conceal their cheating. It's old school stuff. So I didn't think it was that difficult to achieve, but apparently for some guys it was problematic.
All wrestlers, this is number 4. All wrestlers are due in the building 1 hour before the scheduled starting time of the show, with fines being implemented for being late of $1,000 for the first offense, $2,500 for the second offense, and $5,000 in a breach of contract for the third offense. Punctuality. We've heard this be an issue with Mr. Watts for a long time.
Yeah.
He used to not only say that, being on time wasn't good enough. If you weren't so many minutes early, you were late. You weren't on time. Is that right?
Now say that again. I didn't quite understand that.
I've heard the idea that he would lock the door a few minutes before.
Oh,
Well, like if he said, "Hey, you got to be here at 1," if you weren't there by 12:45, you were just asked out. You were late.
I've never really heard that. I mean, I've heard stories along those lines, but I don't recall Cowboy locking any doors or whatever. For meetings, you should, I think everybody was pretty much on time for a meeting. His big deal was just get to the live events or the TVs early enough to get your work done. And there was checks and balances put in. Here's the deal, Conrad. If you're not late, you got no issues.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Come to work on time. You're cool.
Number 5, missing an event, except in the case of the most severe injuries, is considered a breach of contract. The only excusable exception to this rule is an act of God. Number 6, wrestlers who are injured and can't perform are still expected to make the town in order to show the fans that WCW will no longer falsely advertise talent. The only exception would be a crippling injury, which wouldn't allow traveling. Number 7, talking over the PA during the show is to be discouraged. Lewd hand gestures are prohibited, as is cursing loud enough for the audience to hear. Here's one. Number 8, fraternization between heels and baby faces in public is not acceptable. This includes traveling together to and from the arena, to public appearances, restaurants, and even to the gym. This also includes faces and heels socializing together in social situations and the gym. Now, in 1992, the internet wasn't what it is now. It was very much a different business. Let's not forget that even though some people are going to make fun of this, 4 years later, when the Clique hugged each other in MSG and Vince held them accountable. So this is 1992. This is 4 years prior. Just saying. I don't think this is that big of a deal. Like I get that this is something that this is the way the business has always been handled. Right, Jim?
Yeah. It's nothing new.
Right.
It's not, it shouldn't be a surprise for everybody that this is going to be enforced. And it just maintained that aura of cloak of, I don't want to say secretness, but a cloak of mystery or whatever. But it's always been that way. It was all, and people say, well, that don't mean it's right. Well, it kind of means it's right in this situation. I mean, I don't need to have the two combatants see them having coffee. That just doesn't work for me, and it shouldn't work for anybody. And I know probably kayfabe is probably one of the most lax old traditions still in pro wrestling. So at least that's my take on it. I might be wrong, but fraternization is just not acceptable, especially at the hotel or things of that nature. You know, Cowboy made sure, pardon me, we spent so much time in Shreveport and Bossier City that the talents had to go to the heel stayed in one hotel, La Bossier, and the babyface stayed in another hotel. So some of the boys are staying in Bossier City, and the heels, and the babyface are staying in Shreveport. They're just next door to each other, so it's no big deal. But that was something just to me made sense. You know, maintain the little aura of the mystery, and don't flaunt it, and just hang with the babyface if you're a babyface. It's not that hard of a deal. It's not like, you know, you're getting separation anxiety because you're not hanging with your buddy, or he's got the best weed, and now you got to go to his room, and his room's in another hotel. Just didn't work out that way.
Here's one. Number 9, no guests are allowed in the dressing room, including family members, media, etc. Do you remember that being an issue in WCW at this point? Before?
A little bit. Family members were becoming more prevalent in number, and just bringing people to the workplace, and all of a sudden you got Uncle Joe's suggesting a finish. So let's not do that. So yeah, it was really just going back to some basic things.
Yeah.
That when I first got in the wrestling business in the 70s were just matter of fact, day-to-day operational situations.
And then number 10, each wrestler is allowed only 2 complimentary tickets to each show for friends and family. Any number of tickets above that must be purchased at face value by the wrestler. A lot's been said about these rules over the years, Jim, and I understand some people are going to hear these now in a 2022 context and say, oh, well, that doesn't sound right, or that's not fair. But in 1992, I can't imagine that any of this, as you said, seems all that new or unusual. This is the way the business was when you first joined, right?
Yeah. There was nothing new, just going back to basics that had been left behind, and shortcuts that we're trying to eliminate, unnecessary chances that we're trying to eliminate because of injuries, the potential for injuries, things of that nature. So it was just a matter of going back, stepping back in time a little bit, no doubt. And some guys thought that was a mistake, stepping back for anything. But you got to change, and you got to get better. And that's all we were trying to do, is just to change and get back to some basic things that are going to make the product stronger at the end of the day.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.